So let's just get to it. Why did Elvis wear jumpsuits? I mean, these things look
Really, really good. Thank you very much.
Just gotta find my glasses. What was going on here? Why did Elvis go from this look to this look? I think that there is a three-layered answer to this question, and that it reveals something bigger about what made Elvis, Elvis. There is a cult around these jumpsuits. Let me visit the jumpsuit index on elvisconcerts.com. Oh yeah. Nail mirror, gold vine, white Spanish flower, white conquistador, 1973 American Eagle. This is mine, black Spanish flower. Yeah, Elvis. Okay, so let's start with the nuts and bolts answer to the jumpsuit question. Generally speaking, these things aren't showing up until the 1970s, except for in Elvis's big comeback special. Thank you, Jumpsuit Index, for that. A lot of these jumpsuits were designed by Elvis's longtime costume designer, Bill Belew, who said that he was inspired by Napoleon's high collars. I guess I can see that. A guy named Jean Doucette carried this on later in the 70s. Belew did similar stuff for the Osmonds and the Jackson 5, so bedazzled jumpsuits were totally a trend. But in addition to that, here's what I was wondering. Was this a weight hiding thing, or was it some sort of karate related thing? On the weight side, not really. Here's Elvis in 1969 and 1970. He looks good. The jumpsuit would keep his shirt from coming untucked if he was doing like really crazy moves on stage, but it wasn't to hide his waistline, at least not in the beginning. On the karate side, yes, there's a definite influence on the jumpsuits there. In his big comeback special, Elvis had a karate segment, and his first Vegas show was in a karate-inspired two-piece in black, white, or blue. Bill Belew even said in an interview about the jumpsuit material, and I thought it would be great for Elvis because the one thing he said that he wanted to incorporate in his act was karate. There's a clear through line here, but honestly, it's still not enough for me to understand why Elvis wore jumpsuits. I mean, look at all his movies throughout the 60s. Here he is in Viva Las Vegas, no jumpsuits, except for a work suit. And here he is in his last kind of typical Elvis parties and sings movie in 1968. And it's like, wow, is Elvis on Mad Men? Watch out, Don Draper. I think to truly understand why Elvis wore jumpsuits, you've got to look at the timeline of his career. And you've got to know about one key relationship that shaped him as a performer. This is the timeline of Elvis's career. For all intents and purposes, 1956 is the year that Elvis became Elvis. He died just 21 years later. He's in the Army, 1957 to 1960. He's basically not touring during this time, with a couple of limited exceptions. Here, he's releasing songs and making movies. Jumpsuit Land is right here. It's part of a comeback to performing after a really long hiatus. I read Richard Soglin's Elvis in Vegas for this video, and it explains that Elvis was really starting a new era for rock music in Las Vegas. And he was basically responsible for helping a new hotel, the International, make a splash. He saw Barbra Streisand perform at that hotel. This is her. And her show was way too simple and stripped down. She kind of flopped. So Elvis was insistent on a full orchestra, choruses, and a backing band. So Elvis wasn't just making a comeback. He was making a comeback for a new hotel in a new city that wasn't used to rock music. He had to go big. What is bigger than a jumpsuit? But there is one other piece that is necessary to understand why he did it. Now, this is a beautiful bedazzled jumpsuit, if I've ever seen one. This is not an Elvis jumpsuit. This is Liberace's jumpsuit.
The Las Vegas Hilton takes great pleasure in presenting The Liberace Show, starring that man who is famous throughout the world, for his Candelabra.
If you don't know, Liberace was the glitziest of Vegas showmen, to the point of intentional self-parody. He is the guy that they made that movie Behind the Candelabra about. This right here, this is Elvis and Liberace palling around in Las Vegas in 1956. Remember where that is on the timeline? Elvis is just getting started. He goes to Vegas, and Liberace becomes his mentor. Here's Liberace and Elvis posing for footage together. And Liberace supposedly told Elvis to add a little more flair for his first Vegas performances. These two had a big bond around music, around performing. They were also both brothers to a dead twin. And you know, that's gonna make you tight. That's like finding out somebody else watches Better Call Saul. You know, you're bonded. Elvis, he bought Liberace's dune buggy. He wore a gold lame suit after seeing Liberace in one. There were a few different theories about why Elvis had a gold lame suit, but if you ask me, there's a pretty strong Liberace connection really early in his career. So Liberace, who defined Las Vegas, influenced who Elvis was as a performer. And I think it's reasonable to assume that he influenced Elvis going big and going kind of glitzy. Now, I think it is possible to overread the Liberace-Elvis connection here. If you ask me, Elvis wore a jumpsuit because of all the reasons that I've mentioned before this. Bill Ballou, karate, career comeback pressure, big stage to fill. But Liberace is one of them. The idea of this connection to Liberace underscores that Elvis was just a person and a dedicated performer, trying to make a splash and under a lot of pressure. And sometimes the only way to go on a stage with that much pressure is to put on a jumpsuit. All right, that is it for this one. If you haven't been here before, this is a personal channel where I post personal videos, history videos, stuff like that. I also always wear an Elvis jumpsuit, regardless of the topic. So next week, I'll be talking about the human cost of the Great Depression, and I'll be in a bedazzled pink jumpsuit for it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any theories about Elvis's jumpsuit passion in the comments that I might have left out. I've put links to all my sources in the description, including the book that I read, which was the brunt of it. And yeah, that's it for this one. I'm going to close you out with the American Eagle here. All right, bye.